Hi, this is Ron Janish. What we're going to cover in this video is some of the material that's going to be shown to you at the Advanced Babson Seminar. First, we'll have the introduction and welcome, and then we'll immediately dive right into the history of the OR indicator, and we'll talk about the formula that Andrews published in 1974. Then we'll move on to testing with modern technology. You have to remember that Andrews used charts that he received in the mail for the most part. And so he got charts from Babson United, he got charts from Commodity Perspective, and he'd use those for his analysis. And we now have this incredible modern technology where we can have tick by tick data, we can have monthly, weekly, daily data, we can have it in 15 minutes, 60 minutes, 63 minute, 846 minute, whatever we want. So we're going to talk about testing with modern technology and what exactly has been done with that, because that's a lot of what you're going to see, the fruit of that in the rest of the seminar. And you're going to understand why it works today. And part of that is because of what we've learned about pivots and finding the correct pivots to use. And what we're going to talk about is the results of combining it with Andrew's favorite indicator. What I'll do is I'll show you a video of Dr. Andrews answering questions at a seminar, and he'll talk about one indicator that you've probably never heard about. And what happened was that when you look in his commodity perspective charts, you'd see this. And so, and in Andrew's tradition, it was simple, it was geometry and stuff. So we're going to look at that. And what's really kind of neat is that in order to find an OR signal, you can use this in many cases, not to pinpoint the exact location of the OR, but it gives you a pretty good idea that one could be coming at that point. So let's say it was a median line, for example. Okay, a simple Andrews median line, which it isn't. If prices are nowhere near that, you'd know that, gee, there isn't going to be one. But if they're very close to it or they're a little bit beyond it, then you really need to do your thing for the OR. Okay, and so what we're going to do then is we're going to go over the signals that we have on the Babson site. Let's take a look at this. On the Babson site, we go over a whole bunch of different signals, and we're going to take these apart, and you'll see exactly what was done in each case. You'll see it's the same damn thing, really. It all fits what we're going to be discussing today. Okay. Okay, let's move back. Okay, so we're going to do that. Then what we're going to do is we're going to move on to Forex. Now, some of those signals that we have on that list are going to be part of the Forex signals, all the entry signals that occurred in the 20 Forex pairs in 2013. We're going to meticulously go over each one. I mean, you know, you see it once or twice at some level, you know it, but the more you see it, the better, right? And then we're going to talk about short-term trades in stocks where you have 10 to 20, 30% as the targets. And you'll see why this works so well for stocks for short-term trades. And we're going to talk specifically about entries, stops, and targets. Now, in stocks, our targets are going to be different than what we do in Forex and bonds and stock indices and stuff. If you remember, the other day I talked about one of the things I like to look for when prices are going against the trend, I know that there's a good chance they may not make it to the median line. So here they didn't make it to the median line in the Dow. And so you watch for it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. When you've got 5 or 7 pivots going in the direction of the median line, but they don't make it, and you're sitting on a pretty nice profit, it's really a good idea to take profits. And that's one of the things that we do in the Babson seminar when we're talking about short-term trades in stocks, because as you'll see, when we use the median line as our target reminder, so to speak, you'll see that when you're going with the trend, it's so much easier for the price to make it to the median line or past the median line. And so what we'll do is we'll adjust for that and just give you the simple things that I find is useful for that. What we're also going to do is we're going to talk about setting up software to scan stocks and find signals. Now I'm going to show you exactly what I do. And what I do is I use a service that costs me $30 a month. It's an outside firm. And if you use their service, fine. If you use TradeStation or something else, that's fine too. I will gladly give you the exact thing that I use with this service, which you can easily put into TradeStation or any one of these other things that scans through tons and tons of stocks and then comes up with, hey, look at these guys, trade these guys, right? And so what's nice is in my case, the $30 a month service that I use pays for the data that I receive, and it also does all the scanning of all the tedious work for me, so that it narrows it down. Hey, just look at these guys for the OR. So it's just a very few stocks. Right? So after we do the stocks, what we'll do is we'll look at the stock indices. We'll look at bonds and other futures contracts. We'll discuss the significance of volume. And in stock indices and bonds and other futures contracts, what I use for targets is very different than in stocks. In stocks, I'm looking for, if they're with the trend, I'm looking for prices to make it to the median line. If they're not with the trend, I'm looking for them to not make it to the median line in most cases and make lots of pivots in that direction, kind of like the Dow just did. But in stock indices and T-bonds and other futures contracts, what you'll find is that when you're using the smaller intraday time frames, things are a bit different, and so I'll tell you what I've done to adjust for that. Okay, so we'll talk about entries, stops, targets, and special situations that we found for the indices. Okay. Now then we'll talk about long-term signals. Now remember, this is a Babson thing, and Babson really focused on two different things. He focused on long-term investments. Long-term is something that a position he might have on for a year or more, whereas the other things are really positions that you might have on for a few days or hours or weeks. And so this is kind of like when you have something that goes on for a few days or hours or weeks. It goes on with what Babson talked about in terms of having a reoccurring business, something that reoccurs on a regular basis. Okay. Then we're going to talk about something called SB signals, which is a different approach, and which often results in 8% counter trend moves. And then we'll talk about SB signals at the end of a correction. When you get one of these, sometimes the prices won't go past that point for an incredibly long time, and it's kind of neat. And then we'll talk about time management. And time management is really something that's very important, because you really have to be alert and doing certain things at certain times. And on most days, doing this process is only going to take a few hours on most days, but generally 1 hour prior to close, you need to be doing certain things with stocks, and that might take 15-20 minutes. It might take the full hour. Usually it'll take a lot less than that. And you'll need to be dealing with short-term orders or long-term orders. And this is the reason 1 hour prior to close is because in the short-term stock thing that I do, where I'm looking for 10-15% or whatever, I'm really doing the trades right near the closing price. Okay, the longer term, if I'm looking for the longer term orders, I'm examining the price action of the day, and if I find certain things to be true, then near the close I can take action as appropriate. And then what we have is we have after the market, and after the market we want to download the end of day data for stocks, and we just want the software to do the analysis. And what software you use, I have no hang up on that. You can use any one of a variety of services that also get you the end of day data of the stocks, and I'll show you how easily I scan for it. And this is the $30 monthly service I use, that I can give you all the stuff so you have it set up quickly and easily, and just boom. Then we're going to talk about Forex and futures check. This is a little different, because prior to New York Open you really need to take a look at the futures and the Forex. If you're going to be working the 20 or so Forex pairs, you need to be looking at those, and before the market open, and along with the futures. And you also need to look at those markets after New York lunch, right after lunch in New York, or you can just do it a little bit before then, but right around lunchtime is when you want to look at it, right? Which is about 3 hours or so after it opens. And then you'll also be looking at it other times if needed. So depending upon the kind of signal that you have, you might be looking at it a little bit more often, but generally not. So you really only need to spend a few hours on most days in this kind of thing, and you can keep things rather sane. And that's the most of what we're going to be covering in the Babson Advanced Seminar, and I look forward to seeing you there. Bye.